Hey guys, BFA is almost here and there's been some questions about what I'm doing to prepare for BFA and get ready for all the excitement that's going to be coming. We're going to be getting new zones, new leveling, war fronts, island adventures. We're going to hit the 120. PvP is going to open pretty soon after that. We're going to have dungeons and raids and mythic pluses to do. Now a lot of that isn't coming immediately, but it's a lot of stuff to think about, a lot of excitement. So how do you get through that excitement? How do you get to 120 in either at your own pace or very fast? This is kind of what I've been thinking about and preparing as I'm planning out towards BFA. Some things I'm thinking about. I'm leaving the specific things for Elemental Shaman, which is my main class, towards the end, including the build. But to kind of break down it, what we're going to be talking about here, it's really talking about, one is IRL Prep, the method video about prep, this whole, getting ready for BFA does a great job of talking about that. But I would say the biggest things for IRL Prep are get food, get water, get healthy food so that you're not, feeling like garbage. Don't get all the energy drinks, just get water. You just want to have, you don't got to go crazy with a Mountain Dew. I know there's some hype behind that. Get some pizza if you want, but what it's really about, just do whatever you need to do, but just don't go too crazy with all the energy stuff. And if you're definitely doing 24-hour streams, or if you're doing 24-hour sessions, like stretch and walk around so you don't, die. So there's that. In terms of IRL prep, we'll go into a little bit more about that. But second up is cleaning up your stuff. Now, that could be real life, that could be in-game, but specifically in-game, some things we want to go over. Go over consumables, some items that you should be thinking about picking up. That might give an edge, at least in the first 5 levels, as that's going to be really where you're going to be pushing into the new areas and exploring, and then that's how you're going to start gearing up and everything. The next is talking about profession planning. This is something I don't hear a lot of people thinking about or talking about, and this is something that could be pretty impactful. Seeing as jewel crafters are getting new stuff, inscriptions getting new stuff, a lot of exciting stuff, especially with Gathering 2. It's going to be actually pretty wild. The next is going to be the leveling zones that I'm going to be going to. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about it. There's been some other points of view about that, but we'll go through that. The UI setup I'm going to be using, which is going to be really basic, especially for BFA. And then we'll go into the elemental leveling guide. And I'll have time stamps in the bottom if you want to skip to any of those sections, but let's dive into it. Starting with IRL Prep, I kind of already mentioned it. Get some water, get some good food, and get some sleep. That is the number one thing, guys. I know everyone is going to be amped. The game comes out worldwide at the same exact time. What I want you guys to do, take a nap before, go to sleep well the night before. I'm going to be going to bed tonight way earlier than I would have ever gone to sleep in the past year, just to get some rest, to make sure that I'm stocked up on sleep. Because BFA is coming out on the East Coast at 6 p.m. That is, like, everyone's excited because it's early, but you have to think about it. We're going to play till midnight, and then you're going to play later and later. We're going to be playing for a long time, and then you're going to get really tired. So definitely take a nap before the game comes out. If you can, I'm going to be working, so I can't. Go to sleep early. Do whatever you can to be rested, because you're going to play a ton. And if you're taking off on Tuesday, or you just have time to able to play on Tuesday and you're going to do it all day, take a nap at some point. Like, don't go too crazy, but take care of yourself and take care of everything you're doing. And as you can see, I already went shopping. I got a lot of water. I just got some staple things like eggs and whatever, and I'll be cooking it over there. And so that's kind of what it's about, is just getting ready like that. And I'm sure you guys already know this. Do whatever you need to do. Shower before. Asmongold was talking about that. Just become fresh for the X-Pack. Next, diving into cleaning up. Now, clean up your bags, guys. If you've ever seen my bags, they've been the messiest bags ever. I went through and I gutted everything. If anything that you question about getting rid of or not, just throw it in your bank. Clean out your bank while you're at it. Just sell it all. It's not worthwhile. There's people that are deleting legendaries. I'm not going to, just for sentimental value, just as a lulz, because who knows, later on the X-Pack, it might just be funny to throw it all on. Whatever it is, make the decision you need to do. Put it in void storage if you need to. Do whatever you need to do for your bags in your bank. Because you're going to be picking up a ton of stuff. If you're gathering, you're going to get a ton of gathering materials, ton of greens, and all that stuff. We'll go into what you can do with greens later, because a lot of people aren't really aware of a few things. Next, your quest log. Get rid of everything. Just get rid of all your quests. Unless you have, like, some quests that you've been holding on to forever, just clear it all out. You don't need any of them. You're about to get a ton more and a lot of other excitement. It'll make things a lot easier. So that's pretty much what I mean by clean up. Get your transmog ready, so that you can never use it again, because you're going to be getting pieces of gear all the time, switching those in and out, and all that stuff. You won't really have to worry about anything other than just clearing out and making sure it's a fresh time. Next is consumables. Now, this one has a lot of people's opinions about what you shouldn't grab. There's a lot of different things that you could get that will give you a little bit of edge, a lot of mobility items, and I've picked up some of those. There's the guild flags. I have those as well. But really, what's it really about? Because there's a lot of things you could do. Health potions, da-da-da-da-da-da. I'll kind of go over what I've decided to do. What I've decided to do is just go a few different routes for this stuff. One is make sure you have your legendaries. Now, I'm already equipping mine. I might be using these. I'm not exactly sure. It depends on how it's going to go at the very, very beginning. But also, like, pick the other ones you want. The trinket one is going to be able to do AoE damage on you, so that could help you clear mobs faster. Zephus is good because of mobility, so that's another option. And now these are the guild banners. They increase damage, XP gains by a certain amount. Now this is like, yeah, like, am I really going to use this? I would say I'm going to use this one when we're doing big packs or anything like that. But it's all about only when you kill stuff, so just be aware of that. In terms of some of these items here, I saw some of this on the method video as well, but I'm going with some food that I can eat because it's not going to be really useful past, what, 113 or something like that. So make sure to grab those. I'm taking flasks because why not? I'm going to have a little bit of an edge, at least at the beginning, to push through. Gun shoes and sky step and goblin are all about mobility and trying to make sure that you keep mobility. That's what those are about. One other thing to note, legendary items will stay in effect until 116, you'll be able to use. These will all be very effective. And I know a lot of people are grabbing the craftable items, which has mobility. The craftable legendaries, which has mobility. Their prices have skyrocketed so much. But I would say don't really worry about that too much. It's only 6 levels. That will not take more than a few days if you're, grinding things the way that a lot of people will be. Oh, and lastly, the Tranquil Mind. Those are the items that you use to respec. You should carry a few of those on you in case you're doing kind of world questing and you're having a great time doing that. But then all of a sudden you get your dungeon pop. You go into the dungeon and you're not the right spec. It may be pretty beneficial to respec and get reset up. So, or if you're out in the world and you have a certain quest line, you want to change your PvP talents or whatever it is, make sure that you have a few of those. I grabbed, 10 just to see how it goes and see if they're going to be needed, because there's sometimes I wish I had a certain spec and I'm not near a town. So it lets me stay out in the field and keep pushing quests. Now, the next is talking about profession planning. Now, Tiqqle will be an herbalist and an inscriptionist, which is a little surprising. I was enchanting in Legion because you could use level 1 enchanting to just disenchant everything in PvP and sell everything, and you actually made a ton of money that way. Now, going into BFA, I'm going to be doing a lot more PvE. I'm still going to be doing the PvP, but they've changed a lot. So specifically for herbalism, I'm doing that because I love it. I've always had it since BC. I don't know why. I just love picking flowers. And I know that's going to be a great way to make money in a passive sense while I'm waiting for queues, while I'm doing whatever at 120. I'm going to be going around gathering and doing that. So that'll be fantastic. Mining similarly, skinning similarly. Those are things you're going to be able to do as you kind of quest. It gives you a little bit of XP, but it's also a money generator and something that you could, or it could feed other professions that you have. Now, why inscription? So this is actually really interesting. Some of the changes that they're doing to professions are pretty significant. One example would be jewel crafting. Jewel crafting, they're adding a gem that gives you plus 5% XP. That's pretty awesome. They've never had an XP gem in the game to my knowledge. So that's awesome. So a lot of people will be going jewel crafting for that. I won't be, because I'm not necessarily racing to 120. I'm making the decision. I want to do things that are beneficial after 120 and kind of have a lot of cool different things, and are can be used in the world quest area, or it can be used for respecking the Tranquil Mind, or it can be doing the glyphs. I mean, there's a lot of different things Inscription has. So Inscription, for example, is going to be able to make contracts that you can basically buy and then sell to people, and then you can basically go into the contract and it will give you reputation while doing a world quest for a certain faction. Now that's pretty awesome, and it's sweet that you're able to do that and sell these contracts. So Inscription to me is going to be a very interesting profession. I think it's going to be really cool. There'll also be buff scrolls, which may or may not be really worthwhile, but that'll be pretty interesting that I can get those. And I'm also Inscription is also something that I've been thinking about, because Tranquil Mind, everyone's just buying those, especially raiders, switching specs all the time. A huge way to make money. So that's why I'm going into Inscription. And I also think it's just going to be a fun profession. There's going to be a lot to do with it in BFA. Now, for what you want to do, I think what's worthwhile is going through all the different professions. There's a huge Wowhead article about this. I will link it in the description, but all the different ones they're changing drastically. One of the reasons, for example, enchanting, one of the reasons I went away from enchanting is they actually have something called, nope, I was wrong. It's the BFA Scrapper. And what the Scrapper does is it and I'll put a link of that in the bottom below as well. What it does is you take a piece of gear to it, and it breaks it down into its the components that would have crafted it, which means your greens can go into it, and you can get some ore or leather or cloth out of it, which can help you do more. So that's kind of interesting. Now, note, it's not enchanting materials, but it's a different way to break down materials that doesn't even require a profession, and it's just something out there in the world that you go and you use. So it's pretty awesome. Now, so then where's enchanting? Enchanting is going to be, I think, a little, it's going to be weird, right? Because before enchanting was something you could disenchant everything and sell those. And I'm kind of not just going for that now. I want to be a little bit more engaged in the world, and I want to be doing things a little bit more kind of like create something cool and then I can sell it, or create something cool and I can use it, which I think Inscription will be able to serve that, purpose. So again, you got to research it yourself, guys. Figure out what you want to do. If you're going to be PvPing, it's going to be, think about world PvP stuff that you can do. Engineering is probably going to be pretty hot again. So maybe you want to go mining and engineering, because you're going to be able to use a lot of those items in the world. So that's pretty key. There's going to be a lot of use of that when you're kind of out there raiding Alliance towns. So just think about it and research it yourself too. Number 5, leveling zones. Few things to note here, guys. When we start, and I'm not going to spoil anything about BFA, but when you start BFA, you're going to log in, and in other XPACs, it's been like, oh, go in, and then you go to the place, or you get a little quest, and then you go to the place. BFA is a little bit different. So when you're going to log in when it launches, after you get through your queue times, guys got to think about that. You're going to be logging in, and you're going to get a quest. And the quest is going to have you go do basically the follow-up scenario to the Siege of Lordaeron. And that's going to be a scenario. Now, if you're Alliance or Horde, they'll be different. But you're going to log in, and it's going to be a scenario, and you're going to get queued up, and you're going to go in with a bunch of people. You're going to do that, and you're going to come out. Actually, I don't even know if it is with people, to be honest. I always did it solo on beta. But you're going to do that, and that's going to be a pretty good chunk of time. That's going to be a 15, 20-minute scenario. So that's going to be your first experience into BFA. It's kind of interesting that they did that, in my opinion. After that, then you'll be sent towards the islands, right? And that's where a lot of, we're going to get to see the new towns. We're going to be able to see the new cities. We're going to start questing. It's going to be awesome. But that's what it's really about. Thinking about this new starting zones themselves, people have been talking a lot about, for Horde side, they've been talking a lot about that, and I can only really talk about the Horde side here, but they've been talking a lot about the desert zone, and the desert zone eventually can give you a gem, and that gem can be used for the 5% XP, so on and so forth, optimizing the zone path, right? And for Alliance, I'm sure there's a similar exact zone mirroring on your side. Now, my opinion is, I think if that's kind of this path, I think everyone's going to go there. Now, since all the zones are scaled, you can just really go wherever you want, starting out kind of like Legion was. So I would recommend, you couldn't go there. That's totally fine. I'm going to be going to a different area. I'm going to be going to the swampy area of the Horde side. Now, that's because I actually quested there in beta, and they were pretty good camps of quests and pretty dense, with a few exceptions. And so I actually liked the story there, and I kind of went through it. I enjoyed it a lot. So that's why I'm going to do that one. But what I would say is that my only main suggestion here is go wherever you want, guys. It's not going to be game breaking. It's all awesome, and you're going to go to all the zones. It's going to be great. But what I would say is one thing to consider on both Alliance and Horde is that your capital city on your islands has so much awesome stuff. It has so much stuff. It has where you do the war fronts. It has where you do all the contributions. It has where you do the islands. It has where you do all these quests, these side quests, these dual zones, these blah, 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 blah. There's so much going on there that I actually think it gets a little... not that it is bad at all, but I'm not going to start in the zone with the capital city. I just think there's so much going on in that hub. I'm going to go there later. I'll do that second or maybe third, but I want to go way out, and I want to get away from all that craziness. Just kind of, I don't want to say distraction because it's awesome, but distraction, and just go quest and go level and go, ooh, this is fun time, and do my my experience through the launch, man. BFA is not beta no more. But anyway, guys, that's what I would say is just go wherever you want. But the starting zone area might be a little bit more... You're going to look, because what'll happen is you're going to look and you'll be like, oh, there's like all these places to quest. And then you're going to look, but like 80%, like 50% of the zone is also your capital city and things around there to do, which is fine, but explore it. I would say that starting zone and the starting capital city is worth a great exploration time because it's so cool and there's so many little things. On beta, I was poking in, poking out. The entire places are massive, so definitely consider that when picking your first zone. Now for UI, guys, I'm not going to go through a huge deep dive of my UI, but there's only a few real add-ons that I'm going to be using that I want to call out. One is NPC scan for finding rare mobs. If I'm out there questing, I want something to be like, oh, yo, Tiqqle, look, does that thing that you can kill, and it's rare, and you get something really cool. And it'll be something new and brand new and awesome. It's kind of a pain, I think, if you're going to go through an area, you quest through it, and then you leave, and you're like, oh, wait, there's all these rare mobs with all the cool stuff. I could have got that while I was there, and they were right behind me while I was questing. So I think it's just something cool to have to be alerted of. Guys, otherwise, looking at my... I'm just going to look at my add-ons. I'm not even going to show you the in-game. Basically, I only have a few add-ons on. One is All the Things, which is a new achievement add-on inspired by Asmongold. I just want to shout out there. Just collecting things seems so much more exciting after you see some of his stuff. I have the Bag add-ons, which is fine. I have Battleground Enemies for targeting enemies in the Battlegrounds. I have Details, which is a great add-on to start gauging your damage and understanding what does what damage. Definitely recommend. I have Gladius for Arena. I won't be using that. HHTD, which has healers have to die. That's for PvP. NPC Scan, I already talked about that. Postal for your mailbox. And then I have Tidy Plates Continued, which is a continued version of Tidy Plates because this wasn't supported until just the other day. Tidy Plates Continued came out. Otherwise, I just have favorites, which is something for my friends list, and then Deadly Boss Mods. I would definitely recommend getting this, as you're going to be doing quests in those starting areas. Now, the only other one I would recommend is Weak Auras. It's turned off right now, but what I would recommend is grabbing that and then grabbing Notes setup for Elemental Shaman if you're an LA. Otherwise, this is a great way to track your cooldowns, but that's about it. Shout out to the Golden Boys. Now, let's go move on. Guys, last but not least, the Elemental leveling build. We've kind of gone through some of my thoughts on everything else, so let's jump into the build that I will be using for leveling. Number one, I will be using Echo of the Elements. Echo of Elements is a great way to get 2 Lava Bursts off. I guess our hardest hitting ability right now, not that it's doing the most in the world, but it's still pretty good. It's what we're going to be using. Oh, the other thing, guys, very important. You should definitely turn on War Mode. It is this icon in the bottom right of my pane here. It's all about getting those bonus XP gains from being in War Mode. And because the Alliance and the Horde will be separate at the first few levels, it'll definitely be worth it. When you hit 105, when you hit 106, start to be careful. There may be raids on your zones by the other faction, so definitely be careful of that. Otherwise, keep it on. It's going to give you a huge XP buff as you're kind of going through your quests. Back to the build. All right, I'm going Master of the Elements. Why am I doing that? Because it's going to give me guaranteed damage after I use a Lava Burst, and then I use Earth Shock. Gives me guaranteed 20% increased damage. And because I'm not going to be Earth Shocking all that much, but when I do, I want to make sure that I'm getting that extra damage out of it. Because when you're leveling, the Maelstrom generation it's better because they buffed it, but for Elemental Shaman, we don't have mind-blowing Maelstrom generation unless you get a bunch of mobs together and you Stormkeeper. So that's kind of why I'm choosing Master of the Elements, because when I do it, I want it to be the most damage possible, dedicated, yes. Okay. For the next tier, I'm going Spirit Wolf. Now here's why. People are like, well, but Earth Shield healing is probably good because you're not going to Ghost Wolf in combat. Yeah, but the thing is, I'm actually going Spirit Wolf for a few reasons. One is mobility. I want to be able to zoom around. And I'm also, and the defensive is nice in case I get in a pickle, I got to run out. The other thing is Spirit Wolf, along with Spectral Recovery, can be pretty strong for moving between packs to packs of mobs. When you're questing, you're going to kill stuff over here, then you're moving across, and you're in Ghost Wolf. That'll give you some ticks of healing while you're kind of moving. And you're going to move fast because you have Spirit Wolf. So I think it's a pretty good way to use that. Now, I also, when I'm leveling, I'm going to be focusing on a few things, and I've already put it up on the screen, was mobility, healing, and AoE. So the next tier, I'm going with Liquid Magma Totem. Now, why? Well, high voltage, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of it right now based on how it's working. And if you think about when you're questing, you're killing a mob relatively quickly, or 2 mobs or 3 mobs relatively quickly. You need to get a lot of damage out as fast as you can. It's another reason why I'm not going with Storm Elemental. Storm Elemental is a great ability. It does a ton of single target damage, but it's on 2.5 minute cooldown, and I don't necessarily need that for just every mob. I may be using my Tranquil Mind items to go and pick this up whenever I am need it for a big mob, but in general, I want Liquid Magma Totem. It's a 1 minute cooldown. It's going to do AoE damage to whatever group of mobs that I pull together, and it's going to do that instant damage that I'm looking for, which is why I'm going with it. Next, Nature's Guardian. This one is just a staple defensive. If you go below a certain percentage health, you get healed for a bunch. It's just good. Now, next is Primal Elementalist. Now, when I do use my Primal Elemental, I want it to be empowered. I want to do that increased damage, specifically Fire Elemental. I want to be able to do that Meteor, so that does an AoE around my target. And so that's kind of, again, for the cleaving. Now, the other reason here is that the alternatives are just not that great. Ice Fury is actually just not doing that much damage, though it could give me a lot of mobility. So this is possible. Earthen Rage, it could be also okay, but just getting a little bit more damage. I think each little rock shard hits for like 500 or something. But this is, I'm just going with it because of Meteor, and just when I do have the Elemental out, it's just doing more damage. Now, the last tier, I'm going Stormkeeper, and again, as I mentioned, I'm doing it so I can do AoE packs. I'm going to be grouping a few mobs up. If I can get up to 5, that would be great. Stormkeepering the crap out of them, and then dropping Earthquakes, for example. I may pick up Aftershock if I find myself doing Earthquakes a lot as well. But this is really for the cleaving and getting Maelstrom generation very quickly. And because you're in war mode, you get the choice of PvP talents. My PvP talents I will be going as Trinket. And then I'll be going Swelling Waves for the self-healing. It's actually very good. And what I've found is on the beta, I'm not necessarily killing mobs incredibly quick. Now, this is because whether I'm questing past my leveling, whatever level, or I'm under-geared, or whatever it is, I would just say going Swelling Waves is a good bet because the self-healing is very strong. And I do think through questing as an elemental, you will be healing yourself. And if you accidentally pull too many mobs, this can be a great way to catch up and a good way to help yourself stay on top of things. A lot of the PvP talents for elemental don't necessarily increase damage. It's all about defensives or utility on your offensives, like Grounding Totem or Stun, Earthshock. So that's why I'm going Swelling Waves here. The other is Grounding Totem. So this is for the caster mobs. It's okay. I could switch this out with Elemental Attunement as well, which is a way to store a ton of Maelstrom in case I want to just pop 2 mobs real quick. Or if I'm going against a big mob, I will definitely switch this out for Elemental Attunement, and I will go Storm Elemental, like a single target, kill 1 mob build. And that's probably what I'll do in a battle, not a battleground, a dungeon. Now, Spectral Recovery, like I said earlier, gives you that 10% movement speed, which stacks with the 40% from Spirit, or stacks with the Spirit Wolf stacks as well, which goes up to 20%. So you're at altogether 30% movement speed in Ghost Wolf. You're a quick boy, especially with some of those potions and things we talked about earlier. A lot of options there. So guys, that's kind of the build I'm thinking, and I'm planning to go as an Elemental Shaman. You know, we kind of covered a lot in this video. I know that it's very close to the BFA time, but I mean, I'm super excited. And if you guys want to get involved in Tiqqle Party stuff, this is a great time. If you want to raid lead, if you want to BG lead, any of those things, let me know. We are on Tichondrius Horde side, and then on Kelthur side, we have an Alliance Guild as well, guys. So with that, I want to know, what are you guys most excited about for BFA? There's a lot of exciting stuff coming out. Are you guys racing to 120? Are you taking it easy? I myself will be taking it easy. I've always gone hard. I'm trying to just take a step back a little bit. There's no rush. Gonna have fun. There's so much content coming out, guys, and I'm so excited. So let me know in the comments below what you guys are the most excited about, and I will see you guys in the streams. I will be streaming pretty much from launch until I fall asleep each day this week. So guys, get amped, get excited, and I will see you on the streams. Take care, guys. Have a good one.